So I cannot. Hello, hello, hello. I don't know if you can see me. I think you can just see me here in the screen next to my little candle that I just got from Itamar and also from Martin in Berlin. And I hope you can all see me. Yeah, you can see me. And as you've maybe noticed already, um, having an at-home series this evening, and I'm going to take you to Westerbork Transition Camp, and that is the area where I was earlier this week. Earlier this week, a full day, I was there on the terrain, including going back and forth. And the tour today is a little different from the live tour that maybe some of you have done with me before. But the nice thing of of doing a tour from home is that I can also use some of the older material. So we will see both some things from today and also some things from 1943, 1944, etc. So my name is Stefan, by the way. I'm normally or mainly a guide in Amsterdam, but also sometimes in other Dutch cities and also in Belgian cities and sometimes even Barcelona. But today I'm going to take you to a location here in the Netherlands, and it is of course today a very important day. Several guides did already tours around the theme. I'm one of the last ones for today, or for me at least today, and that means it's one of the last moments that I will be in the screen, and I will sit behind my laptop. I even have two laptops, so I can also see the chat, and at the same time also showing you around. And I hope, I hope you're ready for it. And I'm gonna take away the little candle over here so you can see full screen. Hopefully, okay. And I see people are asking about sound. But I think if you unmute it, then you should hear me. So what we're seeing right now, and what we're seeing right now is in the screen is a map. It's a map of Europe with over here the small country. Let me do that on the screen over here. The small country over here, that is the Netherlands, next to our big neighbor, and in the back part we have Belgium. Just next to the North Sea, and here at the other side we have the coast of England with London just over here. And I think you can just still see that. So that's the location where we're talking about today, and I added some parts on the map just to give you a better idea of the locations where we will go to in the Netherlands today. And I'm using a projector on my wall, so that can maybe you can see it a little less good than I am doing here, but I can also see the quality myself in the screen. It's also a little tilted, and that's because I have to place my gimbal and my phone in front of it, so I cannot completely make that 100%. Hopefully that will be a thing that will be there in the future. Okay, I'm gonna remove this away. Thank you, Janet. So I'm gonna remove this away, and we're gonna zoom out a little so you see more of Europe. And why am I zooming out? That's because I want to show you the country here in the middle. That is Germany. That is Germany, how it is, of course, how it is right now. For this tour, I have to start in Germany, and to be precise, in 1933. Because in 1933, it was the moment that Hitler came to power in Germany. And from that time on, the life for Jewish people living in Germany became increasingly difficult. Bit by bit, it was getting more and more difficult. They were isolated. They were made an outgroup. What happened is that a lot of the Jews that were living in Germany, they were feeling this coming. They were feeling this coming, and they made already plans in 1933, 1934, 1935 to come to the Netherlands. The most famous family that made this was the Frank family. So they were also coming from Germany, and to be precise, they were living somewhere not so far from the German border in this area over here, Frankfurt. Over here, Frankfurt, and they were also coming to the Netherlands. But they were not the only ones. There were a lot of other people who were doing the same. So that was starting in 1933, and it was getting more and more tense, and it came to the next level, so to say, in 1938, and I want to show you a little video from that. And these are some videos, some old footage of Kristallnacht. And the Kristallnacht was on 9 November 1938. And what happened, it was the first part where Jewish people were really persecuted. So we're also calling it sometimes, stay closer to my mic, I'm very nearby my mic, so maybe the sound a little harder. Yeah, the night of the broken glass, or the November pogroms, it's also called something like that. And the German Nazis were attacking Jewish persons and property, and that's what you can see in what I'm showing you right now. And the name Kristallnacht refers, ironically, to the litter of broken glass that was left in the street after all the pogroms. And the violence continued several days. And for people that, Kristallnacht, Lucy, that's the name. And for the people who don't know, I was using the word pogrom, and the pogroms that were in Germany at that moment. You can say that it's a mob attack approved by authorities against persons and property of a religious, racial, or national minority. So I'm quoting this. And of course, in this case, that was the Jewish population living in Germany at that moment. Shortly after that, even more, I sometimes have to control it on several things at the same time. Shortly after that, there were even more Jewish people who wanted to come to the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands it was quite safe at that moment. And what was the Dutch government doing at first? They were first closing the borders. But after 1938, there were so many Jews that were coming to the Netherlands, and even when we were closing the borders, they found ways to come inside. After Kristallnacht, there were tens of thousands of Jews coming over the border to the Netherlands. So that meant that the Dutch government had to do something about this. But because at that moment there were no houses, there was no place for all these people that were fleeing from Germany. So they had to search for a location. And the first location where they were looking at was a location in the middle part of the Netherlands. And we're now going to that location. And it's in the middle, we're flying to the middle part of the Netherlands to a tiny location nearby Elspeth, the tiny town of Elspeth. And you can see the name is the Elspeterveld. Even nowadays, there's still nothing over there. They made plans to make a refugee camp over there for all the Jewish people that were coming from Germany. But what happened? The people in Elspeth were against that. And not only the people in Elspeth, there was also someone else, quite famous at that time in the Netherlands, who was living only 12 kilometers away. And this lady, I can fly to her. We see already a picture from her at the right side. And welcome, by the way, for people that are just joining. We're now going, and maybe some of you have been here with me at the end of last year. This is Palace at Low, the location where our queen, at that moment it was Queen Wilhelmina, she was living over there, and she didn't want Jewish refugees in her back garden. That's how we can call it right now. Even if it was 12 kilometers away, she still didn't want that. So the government had to search, and she was powerful queen, so the government had to search for another location. So they had to search for a location where no one was living, in the middle of nowhere, and then they found another location. And that's where I'm taking you right now. We're going more to the north of the Netherlands, it's maybe going a little fast on your screens. But we're going to the place what we're now calling Westerbork. So, no, she didn't welcome them at all, Diane. Sadly enough, not. Now, a place that we now call Westerbork, named after a little village nearby, and you can literally say that was in the middle of nowhere. And I also made a small video. And for the people who missed that at the start I was cycling, but this is also the area just around the camp. And when I was here, this was this Monday, by the way, a gray day, a very gray day, but at the same time a beautiful day. And it also shows it's in the middle of the woods, literally in the middle of nowhere. And the Jewish community, sorry, Paula, the Jewish community was at first not very happy, but the Dutch government they promised the Jewish population fresh wooden barracks with central heating. And 100 years ago, that was really something, central heating, and even sanitary facilities. So, and if they were lucky, even some single family houses. So, and later on, the Jewish population was still not very happy with that. So they were also promising them agriculture, horticulture, farming possibilities, chicken farming, shoemaking facilities, name it, and it was all planned around the Westerbork refugee camp. And even later on, a synagogue, a school, and even recreational facilities. And you have to imagine that in all over Europe, already in the 30s, there were a lot of Jews living in refugee camps. So when the government promised to have something better, they were like, okay, let's go for it. At least we have some facilities that most people don't have. So they were in the end agreeing with going to Westerbork, and to show you a little how far away it is from everything is, and you can see that now in the screen when I'm getting up. You can see that there's a whole row of 14 radio telescopes. And these radio telescopes are here placed, by the way, in the 70s. And why were they placed over here is, let me go out of here. Why were they placed over there is because there's nothing over there. There's nobody living over there. So it is really a location where nobody would find anyone. So and this was all at the end of 1938, the start of 1939. So they built a refugee camp for the Jewish population. And then we go to 1940. Sorry for that. I was hitting my table. And oh, by the way, this is a map of the camp where you see all the barracks that they were building, all with numbers. So, for example, here in the side, we have the barracks for the men. At the upside, above there was the place for the women. There were also several other barracks for the Jewish population to work, to do recreational things, etc., etc. So it was a whole big plan that was made. But then in 1940, May 1940 to be precise, start of World War II. And I'm going to the next video with some old footage of the Nazis that were coming on the first day was in May the 10th. They were coming over the border, and you have to imagine the Dutch. We were fighting. We were trying to fight back, but we didn't make any chance against the Nazi troops that were coming over the border, because, and you see it in the things, the German soldiers, they had tanks, they had a lot of material, while the Dutch soldiers were going on their bicycles. So shortly after this happened, the Dutch authorities, they decided to house all the Jewish refugees in Westerbork. And of course, when the Nazis came into the Netherlands, the first moment, the Jewish population also in Westerbork, they were thinking like, okay, we have to go away. We have to leave Westerbork. So they were trying to flee, but they couldn't go out of the country anymore. So several of them were stranded and later on brought back by the new government that was, of course, taken over by the Nazis, and they were brought back to Westerbork. And what were the Nazis thinking? They were thinking like, oh, we have already this good location over here. Let's start using this location. We have these barracks already. Let's use this location also for other Jewish people that we need to place. So it was for them very handy that we had this location already. And yes, Pam, the Netherlands, we were occupied. Yeah, what is early in the war? Poland was before, and the Netherlands and also Belgium and France were all in the start of May 1940. So, and what, by the way, the Nazis were doing, they were not only attacking us, they were also bombing our second biggest city. That's some things that the last you were seeing that. The city of Rotterdam was completely destroyed. So after that, yeah, we were capitulating very fast. So the Jews, they were getting back to the refugee camp, and I see your little 3D, so you can see how big the whole plan of the camp was. Built in the end for about 5,000 people, but later on even there were 10 to 12,000 people at the same time in the camp. Also bit by bit, I'm now going to the 1940 to 1942. So the first 2 years of the war, it was still the Nazis were starting with the big deportations in 1942. So the first 2 years were quite calm compared to the area after that. So and they were building several barracks to house all these people. And when I was there earlier today, there's only part of one barrack left. And I made also a short video of that. Here we can see how it used to look in the old picture here on the terrain. And then at the back we see one, and you can also see that it was a very gray, but also was a lot of light that day. So that's why it's a little light in your screen. And this is one of the barracks that was built. There are only pieces left, and they say that in the coming 5 years, because it's all from wood, most probably in the coming 5 years they will be completely gone. But if we go inside the barrack, you get a little idea of how big they were. They were really. What's the yellow? Yeah, that's a little. The colors are not coming through completely good. That's but it should be grass. It should be grass, but the contrast is a little hard between the light at this moment. So, but barracks like this were all over the terrain, and several for men, several for women, and all the Jews that were brought over here to Westerbork were placed in barracks like this. And it was really creepy to walk in here. Even there was still not a lot to see over here anymore, but I was walking here over the woods, and I was hearing my footsteps, and there was nobody else here in this whole area. And these barracks were really huge. So it's and Colleen, that's a good question. They're not maintaining these barracks but they tried already to make them a little stronger, but they also say like, yeah, the wood is already in such a bad condition. And yeah, sorry for the little eerie painting colors that you see right now. It's my projector that I was trying to get in the good way. No, and all these barracks. And Amar, no, not the German Jews were placed over here. This is the place where all the Dutch Jews were placed. So, but I will come back to you over there. And yes, Nancy, also families were separated. Families were separated between men and women. And you can also see over here how huge the barracks used to be. They were built for several hundreds of people. And in some parts of between 1940 and 1945, there were even about 1,000 people per barrack. And that was too much. That was really really too much. So, but the location was there the first 2 years. It was relaxed. It was calm. There was a house. There was a commander living on the terrain. He was just living outside of the terrain, and also from that I made a short video, and they tried to maintain his house, and we can see how they tried to do that. Look at this. We have over here the house of the commander. That's part, the only part that is still left. That's still left. And what they did is they placed very recently, because it was starting to rot, so very recently they placed a glass roof over the whole building to make sure that it would stand a little longer. And at first they had a Dutch commander, and he was quite, so to say, good still against the population in the camp. He was trying to make the perfect organization, because he thought, like, if I'm having here a perfect organization, then also the Nazis will leave me here a little. So he made the whole very smart organization. And at the end of 1942, some of the Nazis, of the German Nazis that were coming over here, they were seeing how it was going in the camp, and they were not so happy with that. So one of them said, and I'm now quoting, "I'm under the impression that Jews are treated much too humanly here, and that, due to the attitude of the camp commander, the Jews feel very much at ease here. Above all, it would be necessary to appoint a different camp commander here." So what they did at the end of 1942, they removed the camp commander, they placed a new one, a German camp commander came in his place, and from that time on, the situation went worse. And Robin, that's a really good question, and let me take the time to tell you a little about that. Maybe some of you have done my tour earlier today that I was doing in Amsterdam. For them, this is not new, but the Dutch, we were very famous, and we were even very proud of it, that we have almost a perfect administration, a perfect city administration. So in every city in the Netherlands, from everyone, there was a file with, what is in that file? Your name, the location, sorry, I'm just going to the next one. Your name, the location where you are, where you're living, and also your religion. So it was for the Nazis very easy to start collecting everyone. It was sort of like presented to them like, oh, here we have our city administration. So very easily, with 140,000 Jews living in the Netherlands at that moment. So it was easy for them to collect. And they were, and one of the other things is, you have to imagine that the majority of the Jewish population was very poor. So they did not have the money, the network to flee, to go somewhere else. So the majority was poor, living in the ghettos, in for example, in the ghetto in Amsterdam. So they didn't have the possibilities to go away. By the way, one of the most famous, there are several famous people that had to go via Westerbork, and one of them, let me go back, is this lady, and I hope you can see, her name is Etty Hillesum. Sorry that it doesn't fit perfectly in my screen. Most people know Anne Frank because of her diaries, but one of the other Dutch ladies who was also writing a diary was Etty Hillesum. And you can see the name of her diary, An Interrupted Life, the Diaries, including some letters that she wrote from Westerbork. And in her diary, she is recording the increasing anti-Jewish measures. So, and also, of course, the ongoing uncertainty about the fate of fellow Jews in the Netherlands. Jews who had been deported to Westerbork later on, humanely. So, yeah. So her diary is also a quite famous one, and what happened in 1942 is that she took some administrative duties for the Jewish Council. And people that have been on my tour before know where I'm talking about. The Jewish Council was an organization to help the Nazis to collect all the Jews. So they were using Jews to collect other Jews. Very smart, but of course very horrible that they were doing that. But this Etty, she was Etty Hillesum. Thank you, Lucy. She was even volunteering. She was voluntarily going to Westerbork to take care of her fellow Jewish people. So it was really one of these people that was thinking more about other people than about herself. And as you can see, the letters from Westerbork are until 43. At the end of 43, she was brought to Auschwitz and she didn't survive it over there. Hillesum, yeah, sorry that it doesn't fit completely. That's sometimes a little hard to see it on my little phone, and then on the computer screen it's a little different. So I'm going to the next part. 40 to 42, it was still quite relaxed in the camp, but shortly after that, after the command was taken over, there was another commander, a German commander named Albert Gemmeker. He had himself, of course, a very luxury lifestyle, even made the villa that we saw at the start a little bigger for himself. And he made sure that the organization was even even smoother. So and also and yes, these were the look. So what he was doing, he placed high fences, he placed these watchtowers around the camp, just to make sure that no one was escaping. And but it was also at the same time, this man, he was he was very proud of himself. So he was really thinking, I'm doing a good job over here. He was also the one who was starting with the big deportation. So from Berlin, he got the numbers every week. So this week we need 900, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000 Jews from the Netherlands to help working, or later on, of course, to be killed. And every week he was responsible. And sorry that the light, it looks like it's snowing. It was not snowing there at the moment. That he was taking care of that, and he was so proud of his work that he even decided. I'm just going to stop this right now. Now he even decided that it was time to make some videos of the camp. So in the war, he was saying like, okay, let's make some videos so the world can see how perfect organized my camp is over here. And that is quite unique, because the video, it's a video in total of over an hour, 1 hour and 20 minutes, if I'm right. And in this video, this is the only video that is shot inside one of the camps. So I want to show you the first part. And what we see over here is a train that's coming from somewhere else in the Netherlands. Big chance that it was from Amsterdam, with some new Jews that were collected and that were transported to Westerbork. And this is so this is 1944, by the way, when he was shooting this. So we can see people stepping out of the train, of course, not knowing what was going to happen. They all had like some little luggage with them. They were not allowed to bring a lot, just some personal stuff. The rest was all left behind. And then this, of course, you have to imagine that this video was made by a Nazi to show to other Nazis how good he was working. So he wanted to make sure to show how good everything was. So it's pure propaganda, what we are seeing right now. pure. Exactly, Fern. They were coming in normal trains. At that moment, they were coming in normal trains to bring them. So even the Dutch railways were helping. You see some of them in other ones. And also look, by the way, at these shots that we see over here. The men that are jumping out, look what they're wearing. I don't know if you can see it very well, but they're wearing clogs. So at that time, it was still the moment that exactly clogs or wooden shoes. It was the moment that still a lot of Dutch people were wearing that. So over here, you see it already looks a little like a cattle wagon. But they were all brought over here, and Westerbork became, from a refugee camp, more and more what we call a transition camp, the gateway to the concentration camps in Germany and Poland. And every week, about 1,000 Jews had to go. So let me, sorry, it was, I didn't know exactly when it was stopping. Now, every week, about 1,000 Jews had to be transported to the camps in to the camps in Poland and in Germany. And one of the things, and okay, we have the train arriving, and also there are some shots about. Well, we've seen this one already. There were also some shots about how the life was over here. Again, 1944. Thank you, Fern. Thank you already, some other people. Here we see how, at the moment in Westerbork, they still had to work. Mainly, of course, working for the Nazis, making their uniforms, doing all kind of other stuff for the war. So it was just cheap labor, very cheap labor at that moment for the Nazis. So, and one of the other things they decided is that the daily camp organization was not done. Was done by the prisoners itself. So some of the Jews that had been living already for a longer time in these camps, they became the staff, and they had to make sure that in their barrack everything went well. So, and in return for that, they got some privileges. So privileges like your family will not be the next one on transport. That kind of privileges were there in 1942, 1943, and in 1944 they changed that, but that's something for later. And even the protection of the camp was done by a group of Jewish men. And not only the protection, they were even going to some Dutch cities to have razzias, to find more Jewish people to come to the camp, to come to Westerbork camp. So imagine that you are living in Amsterdam and that someone that you know, someone who's also Jewish, is coming to pick you up. And this was all on purpose by the Nazis, because the Nazis were thinking, if we are doing that, they will not join us. They will not join us. But if there is someone, another Jew, asking you to join him, to come for your own safety, then of course you will follow. And yes, I know. And yes, also look at the stars. They all had to wear the stars. And you may be wondering, why did not some of them try to escape? And that happened. There were about 300 people in total that escaped, but that was only a minority. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the people had work outside of the camps. For example, in some, and let me go to the next one. It's a train again. I don't know why this is happening, but to give you an idea, just a short one is this. There were even moments where they could play football or soccer. Unbelievable, isn't it? Again, propaganda. And all these people did not know what was going to happen. By the way, they colored this whole video. Originally it was black and white. And look at the ladies over here working, sporting, doing all kind of exercises. And they tried to make a sort of a normal life. It was today in the news. It was a little too late to. It was a little too late to add that here in this in these videos. But today it was in the news that in total, during the 2 years in Westerbork, in total 261. There were 261 people that were even married while they were in Westerbork. And for some of them, after their marriage, it was almost immediately done. And then the last video that I wanna show you is that the camp commander, he even wanted to show that everything is going very well over here. So he wanted to have Westerbork to have the best cabaret, the best music in the Netherlands. So what he did is he got a lot of Jewish artists also to Westerbork to play in German, of course, for the Nazi stuff over there. So, and I'm going to show you a little video, and the music, by the way, it is in Dutch, but this is a love song that is written in Westerbork by 2 Jewish artists, and they even published it, or it was recorded, and they didn't survive, but just, oh wait, going again, let me see over here, and it's again with shots, wait, I have to play, of course, otherwise it's not working. It's not such a good quality. I'm singing my Westerbork serenade. So, and what they're singing is their Westerbork serenade. Alongside the railroad, we see the small moon in the middle of nowhere. I'm singing my Westerbork serenade for my lovely lady, etc. So, of course, they didn't know that that this was used for propaganda. Not at all. But it's unbelievable. Okay, I'm stopping it because it's going on for a very, very, very long time. So, and I got this from a video that is recently colored from about an hour that was about the life in the camp. But again, this was all propaganda, nothing more than that. So the only thing is and that was what the Nazis were doing in Westerbork. They were creating illusions. So In the end, everyone had to be put on transport. So it was only to give the people that were living over there sort of a false hope that there was a better life, but not more than that. So, um, because also from 1942, it was the moment that the transportations were starting to the east, and also from there are some shots. I'm just gonna And here we see more the cattle wagons. See, look again that most of the men there and the women are wearing Jewish stars. They were placed in the trains. Most of the trains from Westerbork were going directly to Auschwitz, and every week there were 1 to 2 trains that were going. And in the wagons that we see is that they were placing people inside over there. Of course, they were not knowing where to go to. Sitting there, old, young, didn't really matter. Over here, 74 persons, so 74 people in one wagon. And I think the face of that girl was saying anything. And these wagons were not very big, and they were locking them all the way to the eastern part of Poland, to Auschwitz. And to give you an idea, to the eastern part of Poland, that is about 3 to 4 days by train. They were going in there with no food, no drinks, not at all. Some had the luck that they were still in a more luxury car. So, and I know, John, it's unbelievable to see this. But you can also see at the same time how structured everything was going. So they were just like, oh, the next transportation, the next transportation. It's unbelievable how they did all of it. And no, there were no toilets over there. The distance to Auschwitz, I think it's about 1,000 kilometers. But the train was going slow. It was not going very very fast. So and yes, every week two trains, and one of these train wagons that we saw before. And let me go to the next video, because I was of course here earlier this week, and they still have two of the wagons standing over here. So also to give you a little idea of the size, up to 100 people per wagon. And all these trains, most of them, there were in total uh, 98 trains that left Westerbork, and 93 of them were directly going to Auschwitz. And per train, about 1,000 people. So, and yes, you're right, Yoka. It's not only Jewish people, but the big majority. Only a very small part was non-Jewish. So there were some Sinti and Roma, and you will see that later on in one of the next shots, one of the next little videos that I made. But yeah, these were the wagons that they were using. And all over these years, 102,000 Jewish people were brought to the camps, and almost all of them did not come back. Almost all of them. And about 95% was going via Westerbork. So Westerbork was the transportation hub, or what we now sometimes call it, literally the gateway to hell. All the Dutch Jews were coming from over here. The last trains were going in September 1944. Uh, the last three ones. One was going to Auschwitz. The last one to Auschwitz was together with the Frank family, because shortly before they were captured in the secret annex. And the last one on September the 13th, 1944, was going to Bergen-Belsen, one of the other concentration camps, and with in total 280 Jews. And after that, there was only a small group of about 400 Jews that were still over there, and all because they were still over there to stop the camp to because all the Jews in the Netherlands were transported. So there was a small group that they were holding over there to clean up everything. So, and that's also one of the things, if you're nowadays coming in Westerbork, there's not really a lot to see anymore. Yes, there are memorials, and that's one of the next things that I want to show. Um, there is, I think, a beautiful remembrance, and And what we see over here, by the way, are in total 102,000 bricks. And on most of them, there's a little star, meaning that it's for someone who's Jewish. The ones that we see over here have a little flame on it, meaning that these were the Sinti and Roma, several hundred Sinti and Roma. And um, some of them didn't have a star or a flame, and that was for the about 50 people from the resistance that were captured over here, that were also brought to Auschwitz and other camps. So 102,000 in total. It's unbelievable to see this. And if you're seeing this from an aerial view, sorry, I didn't have a drone with me, and it has the shape of the Netherlands. Okay, and then this was of the uh, one of the place. Oh, wait, I'm going too fast. Sorry. Uh, there are several places to for remembrance here on the terrain, and there is the last one that or two more ones that I want to show you. And the first one is over here, and I think for this one, no, there's oh, sorry that it's so light. I have to do this again and then make it a little darker. No, but what we see over here are coffins. No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just going to the next one, to the last one, because of course originally, and we were seeing it already earlier on the map, there was a train track that they were building the last part into the camp, and the train was coming there. Mainly, most of the trains were coming from Amsterdam, ending in Westerbork, and then two times per week, there was a train going to one of the concentration camps. And what I said before, most of them were going to Auschwitz. What happened after the war in the 70s, they removed the train tracks. So, because there was a time in the Netherlands that we were not thinking about it, that we were not commemorating, but in the 90s, they decided this place, we have to do something with this place. is a place of remembrance. So they found some of the old pieces of train tracks and placed it back over here. And we can see it over here, and I will zoom in later. We can see it over here. There's a little part over there of the train track that is what is rebuilt, and that's the train track is there to commemorate everyone who was deported for Camp Westerbork, and it's also the national memorial for the camp. And it consists of pieces with a buffer on one side, and the rails are bending upwards to the other side. And what I try to do with this video, I'm doing it on the wrong screen now, is, let me show you. This is the train track. The track has 97 sleepers based on the number of transports that were going from Westerbork to Auschwitz and other locations. We see the watchtower in the end. And I was checking the rails. Several pieces had the years of 1935, 1936. All to make sure that even newer generations, if you're growing up right now, it's still very important to see this and to not forget this. The terrible things that happened over here in Westerbork, in Auschwitz, in all these locations. So I placed my candle over here together with some stones. One moment, I'm gonna turn on some light. So, and also turn this one. So here I am. Sorry to get you back to Amsterdam. Sitting in my living room with the projector, the candle, two different screens. I had to control everything that we were seeing today, and because there was so much to tell, I think I even skipped about 20 to 30% of what I wanted to tell. But there were, of course, a lot of questions that I did not want to skip, and I'm sorry that it was maybe sometimes a little tough, also with the music. But I think it's really one of these places, one of these locations. It is still nowadays in the Netherlands, in the middle of nowhere, like what is also, by the way, with most of the other concentration camps. But it's really important that we not forget. And Marion, what's the significance of January 27? That's a good question, because it's today Holocaust Remembrance Day, and a lot of the Hego guides were doing tours around this. And that is because now, I think 77 years ago, 1940, on 27th of January 1945, it was the day that Auschwitz was liberated. Auschwitz in Poland was liberated. At that moment, by the way, the Netherlands was still in war, so we had to wait a little longer. Um, it's but it's so that's why every year we keep on saying like and thinking about the terrible things that happened with over 100,000 Jews from the Netherlands, but in total with over 6 million Jews all over Europe. And of course, it was not only Jewish people, also Sinti, Roma, all kind of other people, and of course there were also a lot of casualties in World War II. But it's the systematical way how the Nazis were trying to get rid of the Jewish population is still something I think that we should never forget. And I think there is nothing in history, even nowadays, nothing in history that is so systematically bad against a part of the population. Um, so it's really one of the reasons why I want to keep on doing these type of tours in Amsterdam, but also about Westerbork, about all kind of other things. Um, and I really wanna thank you for joining today. If you like this tour and also this type of tours, I'm also doing, by the way, completely different ones, a lot more happy ones. But then you can follow me. If you're not following me, somewhere over here in the button is to follow my channel. And what I will do tomorrow, a third tour about the Holocaust. It will be for me 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and then we're going to the memorial that's made here in Amsterdam for this for all the Jews that were killed in the Netherlands. 102,000 via Westerbork and about 2,000 via other ways. So, and yes, of course, I will do this tour again, but you can maybe imagine, and thank you, Nancy, Norma, Nancy, Lois, Leslie, Trish, and a lot of other people before. I think this, and thank you, Gil and Becky, this was one of the most hard for me tours ever to do, not only because I had to go there, and I've been there several times already, mostly with private tours with people that wanted to see their heritage. But I had to go there, and it's more than 2 hours away from Amsterdam, and it's then in the parking spot it's still 15 minutes by bike, and it's really a long way from over here, and I had to shoot all the videos and everything, and of course doing some research. So it took me about a week, right? But I think it's a week that was really worth it, really worth to get all these stories together, to present it in a way that more people can learn all over the world. So that's why I think that everything is worth it, and I'm really grateful that so many of my great colleagues from all over Europe and Israel, by the way, are doing these tours. So we will not forget, because I think that's the most important thing. Wherever we are in the world, it doesn't matter what color you have, what language you're speaking, what religion you are, something like this should never happen again. And the only way is by keep on telling these stories. Keep on telling, keep on telling, keep on telling. Even if it's every day, every week, it doesn't matter. So thank you again for joining. And I didn't even say, that's a good one, Faye. One of the other reasons that I was doing a presentation from home is that the area around Westerbork, there's no reception because of the radio telescopes. They remove the reception, and if you are there with your mobile phone, they were also saying like you are not allowed to use it. You can get even a fine if you're doing that. So that's also what I found out. So that's why I choose to shoot some videos and to show it in this way. And thank you again for joining. I hope to see you again, maybe some of you tomorrow. Otherwise, next week in other tours. There will also be coming some lighter tours in the coming weeks. I will also rest my leg, because maybe some of you were in my tour before, but I overstretched one of my legs. So it's I think it's called a tennis leg in English. So I was just making a step, and it's like, ow, 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 ow. So I did the tour earlier today. Literally, I felt like an 80-year-old. With all respect to 80-year-old people, by the way, but I think a lot of 80-year-old people were fitter than me today when I was walking. So no, but I will do, of course, this tour again, but give me maybe 2 months to prepare again, because it costs a lot of energy. And yeah, if you have good pictures of this, I will also add some pictures myself. Maybe some of the videos that I used, I will place again. Tomorrow, my tour, Diane, is. And Pugita, I will also do that. Tomorrow, the tour is at 5 p.m. my time, so that's 5 p.m. Amsterdam time. And Pugita is asking about the marriages. Yeah, I was telling you about the fake worlds that the Nazis were creating in Westerbork. So what they were saying is like, yeah, even people are falling in love, and then you have the possibility to marry. So there was one of the barracks on Westerbork was there where people could have their marriage. And it was today they presented a new book, and thank you, Lucy, for sharing. They presented a new book from some research, and they found out that in total 261 couples were married in Westerbork, and some of them shortly after their marriage they were brought to the camps, separated from each other, and killed. So some of them even were married for 2 or 3 days. So you're marrying, the next day you're getting on transport, and 2 days after in Auschwitz, gone. It's sickening. It's really sickening. Yeah. So that was the information that was. I was reading it this afternoon, so it was a little too short to still edit in this presentation. US time, yeah, depends a little what US time, Diane, and what part of US you are staying. So, no, thank you for all these questions. If there is still a question that I did not. Oh, and Lucy, yeah, that's a good question. Lucy's asking, is it true that some of the Jewish council were centered too? Yeah, it's the same as what I was telling about a whole world, a whole fake world that they were building, that the Nazis were building. So first they were asking people from the Jewish council, they were asking Jews, help us to get your people into safety, and in return we will not bring your families. But what happened at the end of after all the Jews were brought to the camps? For example, in the tour earlier today, I was talking about a man named Walter Suskind, and this Walter Suskind, he was working together with the resistance, and but he also was working for the Nazis to do the transportation. So he was the head of transportation in Amsterdam, and the Nazis were promising him, like, okay, if you're helping us, then we will not send you to the camps. But what happens? At the end of 1943, Amsterdam was Jewish free. So also Walter Suskind, together with all his family, were placed on a transport. And in one of the last trains to Auschwitz, they were placed. And they think, by the way, that this man, and I was telling a little more about this in the tour earlier today, they think that there's a big chance that he is killed by some of the other people in Auschwitz. So not by the Nazis, but by other Jewish people that were seeing him as someone who betrayed them, not knowing that with the fear for his own life, he was trying to save a lot of the people. So thank you, Donna, for sharing. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing my Facebook group. So if you're not following me, you can also go to my Facebook group, where I'm sometimes adding some more information also about the other tours around the Jewish history, the Holocaust. And Frank, I have about, I think now on Hego, 7 or 8 tours that are related to that. So just follow my channel over there, and then you can you can see them again. Most of my tours, I'm doing it about every 2 to 3 months, so it will come again. So I want to thank you again. I was going over time already, so if you have some more questions, go to the Facebook group, ask it me over there, and otherwise in one of the other tours that I will doing. Thank you again, and bye bye.